jumped into the network view. Here's really where the magic comes together inside of Netminer. Starting from the left, we've got layout options, so I can switch between circular and FCOSA layout. I can refresh the layout of the graph. I can run this as many times as I want to maybe shuffle it around how I like to see it. I could reset the graph to the original state where it was in right when I created the network. I can, if I were to remove an edge between two nodes, I can remove nodes which are disconnected, so any floaters would get deleted away or hidden. Similarly, I can connect unconnected to move or to reconnect nodes which are floating. There is also a toggle for the node grouping, which is the species grouping boxes. I can grab them, move things around individually. And then we've got a table view here on the top. This can be a great place to get started after you create a network and you have a look around, because here you can quickly read more about each of the nodes in the graph. And maybe, for example, I can come in here and I'm going to say, oh, I'm interested in seeing publications only from 2023 to 2024. So I'll select these three, open up the Graph Explorer and say, dismiss unselected nodes of this type. Now, if I close out of the table view, you can see that my three publication nodes are selected here. And in fact, even in the local Graph Explorer, I can see the three of them there. This can be a nice way to just quickly clean up and find or to filter down inside of your current graph. AI summary as well as saving, I will talk a bit more about in a follow-up video. Now to the right here, we have a search function. If I search for MFT, I can see, or for anything, I can use the filter here at the top to say maybe I'm interested in specifically proteins. And because these are pink, I know that they're not in the current graph, but I can actually select them or select all of them and say show in graph. That'll add them into the network. If I don't see all of them, that's just because I need a refresh. And here you go, you can see all four of them. It may have just been that two of them were on top of one another. In the Graph Explorer here, I can also switch between nodes or edges, and each of them have settings, so I can change how large proteins are maybe for an image export, or I can toggle all the labels on for all proteins. If I look at an example like maybe trade, I can see 1 out of 10 are currently marked as visible. If I click on this button, it'll add the remaining 9 in, and now if I click it again, it'll take it all away, and then if I click it again, it goes back to the original state. That is the three-state system of the Graph Explorer. There's also a two-state system, which is in effect for anything that is originally emptied or full. So in cellular component, for example, if I click this, it'll go straight to 3 and then back to 0. There's no intermediate state because when the network was created, none of those evidence types were marked as visible initially. A lot of these same functionalities are available for edges as well. What you can also do inside of the Graph Explorer is when you select one or multiple by me clicking Shift and clicking multiple nodes, I can see the count of publications or of different node types as they're being added here, and I can run specific node functionalities or functions on this node type, or semantic path functions. Now, semantic path is what we see here, and these are end nodes inside of the knowledge graph, and showing with this highlighted line back the connection to what's called the seed gene. And so this is the gene that I use to create this network. You may have one or multiple, depending on how many you use to create the network, but when you click on an end node, it's showing you what is the semantic, the true path that was used to create this link back to the gene. It can be really helpful if you're clicking on things that maybe have multiple paths back, such as the seed germination node, which could have potentially been through this gene to trait to gene mapping, but I can see by clicking on it, no, this is how it was added, and that's how the relevancy system works, or that's how it was added into the graph. When you click on a node, there's also the local Graph Explorer is showing you how you can add or remove nodes that are specifically surrounding this node at a distance of 1. So I can see nodes like here. I can see seed germination actually has a publication node that is attached to it. So if I add that in, now you can see that publication is sitting in wheat, and here in rice there's a connection where this seed germination occurs in this publication. If you have a look at the lines, they also have meaning. So despite the specific names that they have, they also, some are dotted and some are solid. The dotted lines will generally mean some kind of text or text mined or computed evidence, where solid might be more factual and more coming from a database. On the right now, we've got the info box, and if I click on our C gene, I can see a lot of details about this gene. If I click on a publication, I can read more about the title. I can even click out and go through to PubMed to read more about this paper. Along the bottom, we've got shortcuts. This will show you all the keyboard shortcuts available. Settings, where you can do things like turning off the auto highlighting of semantic motifs if you don't wish to see that, and a few other settings here as well. We also have an export function where you can, most useful one is most likely downloading as an image, which will generate a legend as well at the bottom here, which is specific to the nodes and edges that are in your current subgraph. You can download either just the graph and then the legend individually, or you can download them as a combined PNG or JPEG. We've also got a few accessibility features here for zooming in and out, as well as expanding the view to make some things a bit smaller and making it a bit more full screen. I think that just about covers what some of the functionality in here. There's also a few more things like lasso tool, which you can hold shift to select multiple nodes. You can also keep holding shift to select nodes, and I can hit backspace to remove them from the graph. And I can also, there's also a right click menu. So if I were to select perhaps 2 genes here and I right click it, I could do a few functions here, including what's called refined search, which you may have spotted in gene and evidence views, which would run a gene list search with those 2 genes inside of Netminer. It'll also consider which species you found those genes in and actually open up your resource with that species selected. So you don't have to worry about if you search, like in my case, I searched in wheat and then I selected genes in maize, it will actually select maize for you. That's all about Network View.